Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very rare afternoon meeting of the town of Petawawa. A nice snowy day out there, but nonetheless, nice to see everyone here. This is the last one that we have at this point in time. As far as a virtual meeting is concerned, we'll be going back to live at the town hall next Monday. So it's been a long haul to get to where we are today. So nonetheless, welcome to everyone. So I've called the meeting to order. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please. Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Sabrin. All in favor? It is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Does any member wish to disclose any pecuniary interest in any of the matters before us today? Having seen none, I need a motion to approve the minutes that were distributed. Any errors or omissions to the minutes? Seeing none, I need the motion. That's moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor McLean. All in favor? It is carried. Thank you. With that, the next item on the meeting is a public meeting, on the agenda, I should say, is a public meeting. I'll call this public meeting to order. This is, in fact, a zoning bylaw amendment application for Mr. Kevin Sari and Ashley Pardy. I'll ask the planner, Karen, to confirm that the notice of the public meeting has been given.
Yes, notice has been provided as required under the Planning Act.
Thank you. Could you please advise members of council if there have been any written comments with regards to this application?
No, there were no comments received.
Thank you. Briefly, could you explain the purpose of this amendment, please?
Yes, the purpose and effect of the application is to rezone the severed lands in the consent applications B54, B55, and B56/20 from rural to residential 1. This is a condition of the consent applications. There were 3 severances granted off of the property known as 1080B Rance Road. The 3 lots do front on Shamus Road, each having a frontage ranging from 65 meters to 75 meters and a lot area between 0.9 hectares and 1.28 hectares.
Thank you. I will ask the applicant if they're present, if they wish to come forward and make any opening comments to explain or support this application. Mr. Kevin Sari is with us. If you would come forward. If you wish to make any comments, the floor is yours.
Nothing for me.
Thank you. This is a public meeting, as I indicated, and I'll ask anyone if they are viewing, if they wish to come forward and discuss or make comments on the application by addressing council at this time. Anyone wishing to speak to council must identify themselves by providing their full names. So if there's anyone there who wishes to come forward, please do so now. Having seen none, questions from council, please, with regards to this application. Seeing nothing, straightforward at this point in time. I'll request the planner to explain the appeal process, please.
Yes, there's a 20-day appeal on this application. Basically, if anybody wishes to speak to the application, they should do so prior to the passing of the zoning bylaw. If they choose not to speak to the application or provide a written submission to council, they may lose their right to appeal any decision that council makes on this application.
All right, thank you for that, Karen. If there's nothing further from members of council, I'll declare the public meeting closed. Thank you all. Back to the agenda. There's no presentations today.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go to bylaws. The first bylaw is bylaw 139121, a bylaw to set remuneration and expenses for members of the council, local boards and committees and members of staff when on municipal business. I need a motion, please, or a mover and a second of first and second reading, please. Councillor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Carmody. All in favor? It is carried.
Bylaw 1391-21, being a bylaw to set remuneration and expenses for members of council, persons appointed to local boards and committees, and members of staff when on municipal business. This constitutes first and second reading of Bylaw 1391-21.
Sorry about that. We'll go to the third reading of this bylaw 1391-21. I need a mover and a seconder for third reading, please. Deputy Mayor Service, seconded by Councillor McLean. Are there any discussions or comments or questions or concerns on the bylaw? Having seen none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried.
Bylaw 1391-21, being a bylaw to set remuneration and expenses for members of council, persons appointed to local boards and committees, and members of staff when on municipal business. This constitutes third and final reading of Bylaw 1391-21.
We'll go back to the agenda and bylaw 1392-21, a bylaw to appoint an auditor. I need a mover and a seconder for first and second reading. Councillor Moen, seconded by Councillor Roots. All in favor? It is carried.
Bylaw 1392-21, being a bylaw to appoint a municipal auditor. This constitutes first and second reading of Bylaw 1392-21.
I need a motion, a mover and a second, and a motion to approve or to move forward 1392-21 for third reading. Councillor Moen, seconded by Deputy Mayor Service. Any questions on the bylaw? Comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you.
Bylaw 1392-21, being a bylaw to appoint an auditor. This constitutes third and final reading of Bylaw 1392-21.
We'll now go to bylaw 1393-21, a bylaw to appoint a building inspector, property standards officer, and a municipal law enforcement officer of the town of Petawawa. Need a mover and a seconder for first and second reading, please. Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Roots. All in favor? It is carried.
Bylaw 1393-21, being a bylaw to appoint a building inspector, property standards officer, and municipal law enforcement officer for the town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of Bylaw 1393-21.
Bylaw 1393-21. I need a mover and a seconder for third reading of the bylaw, please. Councillor Sabra, and seconded by Councillor McLean. And I'll ask, are there any questions or comments or concerns with the bylaw? No comments, nothing? Then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried.
Bylaw 1393-21, being a bylaw to appoint a building inspector, property standards officer, and municipal law enforcement officer for the town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of Bylaw 1393-21.
We'll go on to bylaw 1394-21, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended, be read a first and second time. I need a mover and a seconder for first and second reading, please. Councillor Moen, seconded by Councillor Carmody. All in favor? It is carried.
Bylaw 1394-21, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1394-21.
Thank you. Bylaw 1394-21, I need a mover and a seconder for third reading of this bylaw, please. Councillor Root, seconded by Deputy Mayor Service. I'll ask if there are any questions or concerns, any comments on the bylaw. Having seen none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried.
Bylaw 1394-21, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1394-21.
Okay, we go to correspondence. The first item of correspondence is a request from Councillor Matthew McLean for leave of absence. We have a letter in our package today, and I will ask Councillor McLean if you wish to speak to this letter. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, my leave of absence is a requirement based on me having to leave the local area that will prevent me in attending the council and committee meetings for a period of an unknown length. It's likely I'll be back before the date requested on June 15th. However, I just don't know what the COVID isolation circumstances are going to be at the time. So that's why I felt it prudent to ask for this leave of absence.
Thank you for that. Any questions of the request? Having seen none, there is a motion there that Council approves Councillor McLean's request for leave of absence from March the 1st to June 15th, 2021 for employment-related purposes. I need a mover and a seconder to accept this resolution. Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Sabran. There's any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Let me see that. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Safe journeys, Councillor McLean, when you leave.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. Next item is an information item. It is the Ontario Volunteer Service Awards for 2021, the June Colwood Outstanding Achievement Award for Volunteerism. And again, as we do and have done in the past, if there's anyone that members of council feel is justified or warranted this outstanding award, to let the office know, either Deputy Clerk Don Rakowski or the CEO Dan Sissons. So if there's any comments on this, if not, we'll just receive this as information. Okay, receive that as information. Thank you. We have a series of minutes to take care of. First one is the council and committee meeting on February the 8th that are in your package. Before I ask for a mover and a seconder for these minutes, are there any errors or omissions to the minutes as distributed? Having seen none, I need a mover and a seconder to accept them, please. Deputy Mayor Service, Councillor Mones, any discussion on this? Then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. Next, the Petawawa Business Advisory Network, December the 8th. Need a motion, pardon me. Councillor Sabran, seconded by Councillor McLean. Over to you, Councillor Sabran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to report that we did welcome 2 new members to our committee. Christina McFadden from the Employment Service at the Petawawa Military Family Resource Center, as well as Richard McNish from Doghouse Brewing. He is a business owner here in the town of Petawawa, so very pleased to bring 2 more members that will add to the diversity and the skill set of the committee. It's been a while since we had this meeting, so the majority of the business has been moving along. And again, I'd just like to remind business owners that we do have the Shop Petawawa in motion right now. And so if folks are not taking advantage of that, it's another tool to advertise your business. It's another tool to let people know of the great services and offerings that the town of Petawawa has. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions for the sitting member of PBAN? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote to accept the minutes. All in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you. Staff report, CSO 1 2021. Kelly, as the Director of Community Services, we're finally getting to doing what we started 3 years ago or 4 years ago, Kelly. So it's over to you on this report. Kelly?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a short report. So as council members are aware, we went to tender for the arena floor project a number of weeks ago. It closed on February the 9th. We received one bid, which was surprising given the amount of questions and answers and the bid submissions that were taken off the MERC's website where it was posted. So we did have one submission that came in about half an hour late. The Purelator truck pulled in half an hour after closing. So of course that bid was rejected. The bid we did receive is from Freecon Construction Limited. Freecon is, you may have seen Freecon trucks in the area. They do have an office in Pembroke, as well as Ottawa and Kingston. And so they're well known in Eastern Ontario. The bid we received from Freecon was for $893,000. In the report, I provided a bit of a rationale in terms of accepting that bid. The rationale is just to assist council with any questions they might have with respect to the pricing that we have received through the tender process. You'll see that Freecon's very experienced in doing this type of work. They've been very active in the last number of years in terms of doing arena replacement projects. One of the reasons is a lot of arenas are getting done right now. Many rinks across Ontario and Canada were built in the early 70s through the Ontario program. They're all approaching 50 years old, and so they all have floors that are at the end of their serviceable life, and in some cases leaking. We're fortunate that ours isn't leaking yet, but anyway, so certainly an experienced company that is more than capable of doing this project. In terms of the pricing, staff did do some research and into jobs that were done over the last couple of years, and you'll see that their pricing is actually below the range of where these jobs typically have been coming in the last number of years. You know, every job's a little different, so ours is very basic. Some of these other projects had some additional scope, including you know, flooring in the dressing room areas and stuff that were just added into the project. So, you know, of course, that brought pricing in a little higher, but you'll see that the pricing that we've received is more than acceptable in terms of a market price for this type of work that we're trying to get done. So I'll leave it at that, and if any members of council have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you for that report, Kelly. Yes. I'll open up for members of council. Councillor Mons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kelly, have we got anything in the tender for contingency? And the second item was schedule delays with regard to the COVID-19 situation.
In terms of contingency, our pricings come in below budget with the contribution of $250,000 that we put into reserves this year. We have about $1.4 million in reserves. So we have a healthy chunk of cash in the reserve that would cover any contingency issues that we might run into. In terms of timing, it's typically about a 5-month project. And so our plan in terms of the tender, as well as what was submitted to us in the tender bid documents from Freecon, is to start around April 1st. 5 months will take us to September 1st. We usually don't open up our arena until about the 3rd Saturday in September. So we have some room in there for commissioning and, a couple of weeks to deal with any delays that might happen. In terms of COVID, as an example, if we were to have the rules of engagement in terms of construction altered from now through till when the job should be finished for whatever reason and for any length of time, we're just going to have to deal with it. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what that might be. We certainly have enough time. If we start April 1st, there's more than enough time to finish this project on time to start our ice season at the normal time that we would in September. But COVID is it is what it is. So we usually have about a 6 month to 6.5 month shutdown through the summer period. This type of work typically takes 5 months or so to do, so it's pretty tight to begin with. So we're just crossing our fingers, and we're starting it when we said we'd start it, and we're hoping for the best.
I guess my concern was that they would come after us for extras for schedule delays. And normally at this stage of the game, we would put something into the tender package to say, to protect ourselves should this happen.
Yeah. So there's already clauses built into the tender documents that speak to what would be an acceptable delay or not. So we should be fine there.
Thank you.
Other questions on the report? I think it's important to point out, thanks to, and I have to say, congratulations to council for prudent planning. 2-3 years ago, we started putting money away for this particular project. And at the end of the day, this is about just a little under $1 million project that will be paid for fully when we complete the project. So job well done for really, really prudent planning on behalf of members of council and staff to get this to where it is. We don't have to go into debt for this. Thank you to the planning that was put in place. So job well done to everyone. And I'm looking forward to seeing this being put in place. It is important, as Councillor Moens has said. One of the things I'll report on a little bit later under my report is in 2022, the Winter Games are taking place in Renfrew County, and Petawawa is scheduled for at least 1, maybe 2 events, of which will possibly take place in the Civic Center. So it is important that we don't have any delays going forward with this particular situation, but nonetheless, job well done to everyone who was involved with this, making it happen in a debt-free environment. Thank you for that. If there's no further questions, I need a motion to accept the report CS 0121. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Moens, Councillor Roots. No further discussion on this particular issue. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you, Kelly, and
Thank you.
can we start tomorrow?
We got a couple more weeks of hockey left to go.
There you go. That's important for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on to councillor reports. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report.
Okay, Councillor Moens.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Roots.
Nothing to report at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sabran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report.
Councillor Carmody.
Nothing to report today.
Councillor McLean.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. On my part, it has not been as overly busy as it has been in the last little while, but I have had 2 meetings of the 2022 Winter Games Committee, and it's moving forward. There will be a letter coming out to us with regards to looking for volunteers to fill some 16 locations. We're looking for upwards of 700 volunteers, right from Arnprior to Calabogie to Barry's Bay, right up to Petawawa and all points in between. So there will be a letter coming out for that. We are also going to be engaging a full-time manager, which is allowed under the criteria of the current contract that was signed. As you are probably aware, approximately $1 million has been given to the group to put on these games, and the County of Renfrew has injected $200,000 themselves into it. So there is a pool of money to to move forward with this. They'll be looking for 16 chairs of the various committees, and anyone who's interested, perhaps you can give me a call and I'll explain some of these committee chairs and what their roles and responsibilities are. There is Peter Emon, the Reeve of Renfrew, is the chair. I sit on it, as does Councillor Brian Hunt, who's the mayor of Greater Madawaska, and of course the warden of the county as well. So yeah, it's looking like quite an event that's going to take place. Something like, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 individuals coming in. The dates have been settled, pardon me, the last week in February and the first week in March, 4 days in each case, to make it so that we don't disrupt all of the services for the various organizations throughout the county of Renfrew. So stay tuned, and if there's anyone interested, let me know, and I'll fill you in on the packages that we have got with from the Ministry of Sports. I've had, as I say, 2 of these meetings. I've had a development and property meeting in which we've been talking at length with the official plan going forward. We've made I think some good changes to that, and have some gains with that, and we'll give you further information in terms of some of the issues that have been changed. The most important one is that we will be able to look after our own official plan amendments here in the county of Renfrew, and will not have to go to the province of Ontario. If it goes to the province of Ontario, there's a very large price attached to that, and if we do it locally here, that saves anyone going forward with that. I think it's about $12,000 to take care of that. So it's a good move. I've had the finance and administration meeting just the other day, and I did bring to the committee's attention the issue that the fire chief talked about, and that was the closing of the college, the fire college in Gravenhurst. That was closed, as I thought, just by way of a decision by the provincial government, and I thought it was just closed like last week or a month ago. In actual fact, it was closed about a year ago because of the COVID situation. But we are of the understanding that it will be permanently closed. And part of the problem, I guess, is, from what I understand, is if you send some training individuals down there, they're there for a week for $65, and you can understand at that type of level, it's not sustainable, that's for sure. So I did bring that forward, and some of the members of the finance committee did not know that this is actually in place. So I think there's a little movement on the part of the chair of finance, Jennifer Murphy, and the warden of the county, who perhaps will take this forward to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. I've suggested that they take a look at what services or what facilities may be in place for training within the county of Renfrew, and perhaps maybe we should do an inventory just to see exactly what is available with this. Apparently, a lot of this training is done online, but one of the big challenges, as I understand it, for firefighters is to have live fire training, and no one seems to be able to put that in place or has it in place at this time. So there's an opportunity there to take a look and see what might be available. Plus, one of the things I did talk to the chair of finance about is that there may be an opportunity to see if the government of Ontario would put forward some funding to assist those who perhaps want to enhance their training facilities here, and maybe make it a little broader for firefighters in the county of Renfrew. Broadband was a big discussion, as you can appreciate, and we're wrestling with the possibility of trying to do a gap analysis for the county of Renfrew. As you recall, the gap analysis was done for Eastern Ontario, and from that, the EORN, the Eastern Ontario Regional Network, was stood up. And that resulted in a $200 million broadband ring in Eastern Ontario, and that certainly helped a lot of individuals. But I think it's fair to say, and it's no secret to members of council, there are many, many dark spots within the town of Petawawa. And you can be driving down Doran, for example, talking to yourself, and the call has been dropped. There are individuals who cannot get what is considered standard 50 down and 10 up a bandwidth. EORN, for example, is not a ISP, an internet service provider, but we're being asked on many occasions to support the ISPs, the North Renfrew, the Cogeco, the Bells, and all of that sort of stuff. But it is a tricky situation to get everyone covered with broadband. So they're working on that right now to keep, and I'll keep you up to speed. And when and if something happens as far as broadband is concerned. So that's what I've been doing in the last little while. Okay. With that, I understand there's a meeting for closed. And it's being closed pursuant to section 239(2) section C and section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board that requires advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose with respect to ownership of and access to the Four Seasons Bridge. That is what we're going into close to discuss. I need a motion from members of council for that. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Root, second by Councillor Mons. All in favor? Thank you for that. Now, as what we normally do, I will ask for those who are on the Zoom meeting